Welcome to Ethos Trek. I'm veering from my usual format with this episode. This is an episode I'm calling More Than the Sum of Our Parts. I'm Sera, and today we're going to talk about something that's been dominating the headlines, but from a perspective you probably haven't heard. The Epstein files. Everyone's talking about which powerful men are panicking, whose secrets are coming out, who's lawyering up. Social media is full of jokes, memes, speculation. But here's what we're not talking about. The girls, the women, the survivors. Critical thinking question, because that's what we do on Ethos Trek. Why is it that when sex crimes involving powerful men are exposed, our cultural conversation centers on the perpetrators rather than the victims? Let me give you some numbers that should shake you to your core. 82% of American women, that's 4 out of 5, have experienced sexual harassment or assault in their lifetime. 42% of men report the same. 1 in 5 women in the United States has experienced completed or attempted rape. Think about that. Look around your office, your classroom, your family gathering. 1 in 5 women. Over 1/3 of women who report being raped before age 18 also experience rape as an adult. The trauma compounds. It layers. It never fully leaves. And here's the kicker. Only 310 out of 1,000 sexual assaults are reported to the police. That means more than 2 out of 3 go unreported. Why? Because survivors fear retaliation, don't believe the police will help, or know from experience that the system wasn't designed to protect them. Critical thinking question. If sexual violence is this pervasive, why do we still treat it as an exceptional crime rather than a systemic epidemic? These aren't just statistics. These are your mothers, daughters, sisters, friends, colleagues. Everyone knows at least one survivor, whether they know it or not. Rape has been compared to murder. The survivor lives, yes, but who they were, their sense of safety, their dreams, their trust, their ease in the world, those things are stolen. Sexual violence doesn't end when the assault ends. It rewrites your entire existence. You don't just recover from sexual assault like you recover from the flu. You don't take some therapy, get a round of antibiotics, maybe take some antivirals, and move on with your life. The wound keeps bleeding. People who know about the violence never treat you the same again. Partners treat you differently, if they know. Comfort levels shift. Intimacy becomes complicated. Doctors view every symptom through a lens of trauma first, illness second. Even after what we call recovery, survivors may never love the same way again. Memories can arise at any time, triggered by a smell, a touch, a news story about powerful men and the girls they abused. Life itself is different, harder, edgier. The perpetrators don't just steal your body for that moment. They steal your sense of belonging, your ability to take love for granted the way everyone else does. Critical question. If we truly understood the lifetime impact of sexual violence, would we still allow our legal system to prioritize the reputations of powerful men over the healing of their victims? And now, every single day, the Epstein files are in the news. every single day, which means every single day his victims must relive their abuse. They cannot heal. They cannot sleep. They cannot move forward because the world won't let them. Every day those files stay sealed, every day those names are protected, those victims are violated again. They are victimized again. They are raped again. Not physically this time, but legally, systemically, culturally. And it's not just Epstein's victims. Every time this story dominates the news cycle, it triggers countless other sexual assault survivors. They remember their own assaults. They have their own rape kit receipt. They know exactly what those girls went through because they've been there. The pain is real. The triggers are real. The exhaustion of watching perpetrators be protected while victims are ignored. That's real too. Critical thinking question. What does it say about our society when we're more invested in the suspense of which powerful man will be named than in providing justice and healing for the young girls who were raped? Here's what people seem to be forgetting. There are laws that were broken, laws that exist specifically to protect victims, laws that are being deliberately overlooked. Let's talk about those laws. Title IX, the law that was gutted. Title IX is the federal civil rights law from 1972 that prohibits sex discrimination in education. And yes, sexual violence is discrimination on the basis of sex. It is the ultimate form of sex-based discrimination. Under the Biden administration, Title IX regulations expanded the definition of sexual harassment and eliminated requirements for live hearings where accusers could be cross-examined by their abusers. The rules made it easier for survivors to report, to be believed, to access support. But in January 2025, the Trump administration reverted to the 2020 regulations from Trump's first term, the rules created under Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. Those 2020 rules narrow the definition of sexual harassment, extend protections for students accused of sexual misconduct, and add requirements like live hearings with potential cross-examination. Let me be clear about what that means. It makes it harder for survivors to report. It makes schools less obligated to respond. It puts accusers in the same room as their abusers, forcing them to be questioned, doubted, re-traumatized. The Trump administration redefined sexual harassment as only actions that are, quote, severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive, unquote. The problem? Almost no sexual harassment is considered, quote, objectively offensive, unquote, by everyone. Look at the comment section of any article from Me Too. Every perpetrator has defenders who insist, quote, it wasn't that bad, unquote. Tracy Vichers of It's On Us said it plainly, quote, protecting the rights and safety of women and girls was never the goal of the first Trump administration's regulatory efforts on Title IX under former Secretary DeVos. And it's certainly not the goal today, unquote. Critical thinking question. When a government changes laws to make it harder for victims to report and easier for the accused to evade accountability, whose interests are being served? The Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, The Violence Against Women Act, passed in 1994, was the first federal legislation to acknowledge domestic violence and sexual assault as crimes and provide federal resources to combat violence against women. VAWA has been reauthorized multiple times in 2000, 2005, 2013, and most recently in 2022. Each reauthorization expanded protections. The 2022 reauthorization expanded housing protections for survivors, increased investments in culturally specific programs, improved health responses to gender-based violence, and established programs to address the backlog of untested sexual assault kits. But here's the reality. VAWA funding depends on Congress. And when politicians who are themselves perpetrators hold power, when men who have been credibly accused of sexual misconduct sit in positions of authority, those protections become hollow. VAWA requires a coordinated community response, bringing together victim advocates, police, prosecutors, judges, healthcare professionals, and survivors. But that coordination falls apart when the leaders coordinating it don't believe the survivors, don't prioritize their safety, and actively work to undermine protections. Critical thinking question: can laws designed to protect survivors be effective when the people enforcing those laws are themselves accused or complicit? Let's say it plainly. We are being ruled by people who are perpetrators, people who have violated women, people who have been credibly accused of sexual assault, harassment, and abuse. And they are the ones making the laws. One sits on the highest court in the country. Others sit in Congress. Others are in positions of power across government, business, media, academia. When perpetrators hold power, they protect each other. They change the laws to protect themselves. They make it harder for victims to speak up, harder to be believed, harder to get justice. The Epstein files prove it. The names that are being protected, the men who are lawyering up, the ones sweating in their offices, wondering if their secrets will come out, these are the same men who have spent decades shaping policies that silence survivors. This isn't about politics. This is about justice. This is about laws. This is about being a country that actually functions under the rule of law. And we the people includes women. Critical thinking question. What happens to the concept of justice when those who break the law are the same people who write and enforce it? Here's what needs to happen. The files need to be released. Now. All of them. No redactions to protect powerful men. No delays to let lawyers strategize. No backroom deals. Reveal the monsters. Remove them from office. Let the victims heal. Let them sleep. Because right now, every day those files stay sealed, every day those names are protected, is another day that survivors, Epstein's victims and countless others, cannot move forward. Justice delayed is justice denied. And for survivors, that denial is a form of ongoing violence. The Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights received nearly 12,000 Title IX complaints in 2024 alone. Those are real people seeking help. But with the Trump administration's effort to dismantle the Department of Education and the Office for Civil Rights, most survivors will lose their only avenue for affordable, timely resolution of complaints. Federal courts heard fewer than 1,000 education-related civil rights cases in 2024. They cannot absorb 20 times more cases. And most students cannot afford that path anyway. When the systems meant to protect survivors are dismantled, when the laws are rewritten to favor the accused, when the people in power are themselves perpetrators, that is not a justice system. That is a protection racket for abusers. Critical thinking question. If we genuinely believe in equal justice under the law, shouldn't the powerful face the same consequences as everyone else? Or greater consequences, given their positions of trust? So yes, let's keep talking about the Epstein files, but let's talk about what they really represent. A system that protects perpetrators at the expense of victims, laws that are ignored when it's convenient, a culture that would rather joke about powerful men's panic than demand justice for the girls they raped. Sexual violence is not entertainment. It's not a scandal. It's not gossip. It's a crime. It's discrimination. It's a violation of human rights. And it's an epidemic. 1 in 5 women, 82% experiencing some form of sexual harassment or assault. This is not someone else's problem. This is all of our problem. To the survivors listening, you are not the sum of what was done to you. You are more than the worst thing that ever happened to you. You deserve justice. You deserve healing. You deserve to sleep. And to everyone else, stop protecting the perpetrators. Stop making excuses. Stop changing the subject. Demand the files be released. Demand accountability. Demand a system that actually protects the vulnerable instead of the powerful. Because if we don't, we're complicit. And the next generation of girls will learn the same lesson that too many women already know. That their safety, their bodies, their lives matter less than the comfort of powerful men. Final question. What kind of society do we want to be? One that protects perpetrators or one that demands justice for survivors? This has been More Than a Sum of Our Parts on Ethos Trek. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing witness. Thank you for demanding better. If you or someone you know needs support, the National Sexual Assault Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 4673. Or online at hotline.rainn.org. This is Ethos Trek. I'm Sera, reminding you, we are more than the sum of our parts, and we vote. Stay engaged, think critically, and I'll be back in a few days.